Welcome to One Foot in the Grave. Oh, fuck. I'm Dan.
I'm Jake. I'll just mute that. And we're off to a auspicious beginning.
Hey, bro.
Hey, what's up, dude? I don't think we've actually talked since the last episode.
No, this is our weekly to monthly catch up.
Yeah. What's happening?
Sick kids.
Oh no, what's going on with the
I
kids?
mean, that sounds like Make-A-Wish kind of a statement. It's not. It's just that she has the flu.
Oh no. Is she puking?
No,
Oh.
just like the actual flu.
Oh,
yeah,
the real flu. Yeah, that's not as bad.
Yeah, the funnily. Oh, hold on. I just gotta turn. The other kid, the younger one, was like, "Yeah, I'll get my flu shot," and Alice, who's 8, was like, "Hell no!" And we all got our flu shot except for her, and now she's got the flu.
I don't give anyone a choice. I'm just like, you're getting the goddamn flu shot, but it causes. I don't care what it causes, even if it's true. Even if you might get autism, I don't want the flu in the house.
No, I don't think it causes autism.
No, I know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But
this is the politically correct One Foot in the Grave podcast.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Welcome to anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. This is the anti-vax podcast.
Yeah.
Where we take that science that we know is real, roll it up into a little ball, and stick it directly up our asses.
Yeah. I mean, I was vaccinated and I've turned out to be completely normal.
You know, I will say after I got my MMR vaccine, I did spend a lot of time just wandering around the city with no pants on. I don't know if that's related.
Yeah. I was no longer able to recognize other people's emotions.
I find it hard to make eye contact. But, you know, podcasting is the perfect medium for the autistics. Because you don't have to make any eye contact. I can't see your face. No. You know what? Actually, most podcasters actually are probably in the room together now that I think about that. Well, this specific format where you're in Australia and I'm in Canada works well.
For us vaccinated folks.
Yeah.
I mean, autistic, whatever, same thing.
Same diff. Oh, man.
I don't know what the fuck happened just then.
Any listeners still there, or just don't file a complaint with Apple?
No, I don't know. I mean, we've got freedom of speech.
I don't think Apple sees it that way. You've got the freedom of speech as long as it doesn't offend anyone.
No, I don't think so. Because we've marked it as explicit, and that means explicit as in wrong as well as bad language.
That's right. We did actually get away with the C word being said a few times, but mostly in jest. Oh, did you step on the dog?
No, it's Aaron's blind old broken poodle.
Yeah, the Sophie, Sophia.
Yeah, Susan.
Fuck. Somehow it's always endearing when a dog is named after named a person name when it's a guy, but this is gonna sound sexist. But I never like it when it's a girl name.
Like Wilma, like my dog Wilma.
That's not as bad. Maybe I like old school names, but like Susan or Susie. I know a lot of people who name their dogs that. I'm always like, not really, really my cup of tea.
Wayne,
Paul, Peter,
Palanca.
You know,
George.
Biblical names. Jesus.
Golly. I went to the movie yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
It was not like I went to the movie yesterday.
Yeah, no,
but
the
I went
Beatles
to
movie.
the movie entitled Yesterday. It was great. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but that's really funny because I'm doing a Beatles story today.
Are you?
That's weird. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I took your advice on the last one, and I watched The Boys. And
yeah.
You know, I'm not a superhero guy. I don't watch any of those Marvel movies.
I have to hold on. Just keep talking. I just have to do a father like snort.
Okay. The Boys, if you haven't seen it, is on Amazon Prime. It's friggin' awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's
I
really
watched
good.
The whole thing.
Right?
I watched all 8 episodes.
I know.
In 2
Yeah,
days.
I binged it.
Yeah.
I really binged it hard.
Yeah.
But what did you like about it? I thought that for sure you would hate it.
No, I loved it. I liked the. Now I know it's adapted from a graphic novel, so I had a few complaints. Some pieces of the plot where I thought, what the hell is happening? What just happened? Like, how did he end up sleeping with this girl and all this stuff? But other than that, I love the premise. Like the superheroes. Fuck, you know what? The guy who plays Homelander reminds me exactly of Justin Trudeau. Like, everyone thinks he's awesome. Everyone thinks he's like the super nicest guy in the world, but he's actually a super villain. It's brilliant.
Yeah. But
now I've given away the whole fucking show. Should have put a spoiler alert in there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, a retroactive spoiler alert here.
You know the guy who plays like the Australian Black? He's like
yeah, with the beard.
Yeah. He was in Lord of the Rings.
Oh shit! I was trying to think of where I recognized him from.
Yeah. So he was like
was he Gollum or one of the
no. No, he was people? He was the son of Rohan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because he had blonde hair in that movie. Weird. Didn't he have long blonde hair in that movie?
No.
I can't remember.
Roiders of Rohan.
Yeah.
Where are you at the mark? And that's where he makes his thing.
Have you seen any halflings? They would have looked like no more than children to you.
Yeah, mate. We actually burnt them.
Halflings? No, fuck that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think I've got one with its head on the spike. Just over.
Sorry, mate. Now in the Boys, he had kind of like an English accent. I didn't even know he was Australian.
Well, I think it was an Australian accent.
Oh, was it?
I think most things are though. It's a strange accent.
The only one I get like consistently Australian was the Julia Gillard like. Yeah, I is rock.
I is rock.
It's a real pleasure to have Oprah Winfrey here. Yeah. Tomorrow we're going to see the Sydney Opera House. You know, that kind of...
Yeah, the other one that I've started to do, and I can't do it right now, is a New Zealand accent, and it's just hilarious. They speak so funny.
I had a few New Zealand friends, and they do have quite a funny accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything's like really to the front of the mouth.
It's not quite. It's kind of, there's a little bit of South African in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like an Australian accent, but somebody fucked a Dutch person, and they picked up that accent too.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I know that's not how accents work. I know they're not hereditary. Oh lordy.
Yeah. So there's our science.
Science lesson.
Accents vaccines. Are from fucking.
And vaccines cause you to not wear pants.
Yep. So
pretty much, I think we've covered all the bases.
By all means, send any of your questions to onefootinthegrave@gmail.com.
That's right. Now I'll tell you my barbecue story. I don't know.
I read it on Facebook. I feel like the fire. So, long story short, I'm sure Jake's barbecue caught on fire, and now it doesn't work anymore. And I think what's happened is that you've burnt through the hose that carries the propane to the actual burner.
That is part of the story. So
it's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you know? Okay, here's
Did you know?
The more you know.
The LPG is actually very flammable.
Yeah.
It's combustible gas.
Here's the more you know moment. Did you know that you are supposed to clean your barbecue?
Well, here I just replace it every couple of years.
Yes. Well, I've moved every couple of years, right? And I always say, keep the barbecue. It's all fucking dirty. I'm not moving it. And I never think about it. So this is the first time I've lived somewhere for more than 5 years since I've been of the age that you could own a barbecue.
Yeah.
And I guess I just never thought of cleaning our barbecue. So we had
you just let it burn for a little bit after you've used it.
Yeah, like I scraped the top. I scraped the grill. But I never thought of like all the shit that's falling inside the barbecue. It just never even occurred to me. So We had a party a couple of weeks ago for all the people I work with, and it was this big lobster party / barbecue. Chrissy is allergic to lobster, so it was mostly barbecue. And they were cooking up. This guy took over the barbecue. He was cooking all these burgers.
I'm just going to interrupt you there just for a second because I'm having my bonfire tonight. And us non-human practicing doctors, it's bring your own beer and bring your own meat. So,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Not lobster, not barbecued lobster.
Well, no, this wasn't barbecued. We have a connection. It's kind of gray market lobster. This guy works at Black's Harbor, is married to one of the nurses. So
oh no.
We basically buy it at cost from the boat as he comes in. So it wasn't, it's not totally, we don't necessarily pay tax on it. I don't know exactly how it works. I don't. Anyway, so we were, oh shit, I'm too loud, aren't I? Or your headphones, I can hear my own voice. Sorry if that's
well, yeah, I mean, you're... I'll turn you down a little bit.
I got to say, I got into listening to our old episodes of the podcast. I've really...
Well, you know what? I love the one, because when I redid the Patreon page, which is patreon.com/OneFootInTheGrave podcast, or whatever the link is on our website, I listened to that one that's on there from our old podcast. Oh, yeah, it's really funny.
Well, that's right. So you can get a bonus episode. We had... Remember last time I was asking, have we been doing this for 1 year or 2 years? That's because we started a different podcast the year before.
But it was way long ago.
I think it was about 2.5 years ago now.
It feels like
we
forever.
Only did it. I think we only did it for a few months because we had a long break where we had no podcast.
And also it was like we had to use pseudonyms because it was so inappropriate.
So fucking offensive. But if you are, I mean, it's not racial. It's just, it's pretty bad.
I don't know. It's actually exactly the same as this one. In hindsight, it's
we've
themeless,
just kind of devolved into
themeless filth.
Anyway, so what's the deal? If you give $2 a month, you get that bonus episode, or you can...
Yeah, I tried to I've made it so there's a $1 one, a $2 one, and then a $5 one. I think this is what I would do, people.
Do it for 1 month.
Ignore this whole chat.
We're after a Patreon, just to have one. But our Patreon died and was also our father. We're children. We're like children. It's like when kids have a lemonade stand and then the only customers are their parents, and they're like, well, I guess I'll have another glass.
He got that one. He got that one when we were in Pugwash, and he actually listened to the episode. So I was in the other room next to him, and he was listening to that, the Patreon podcast. Well, when we were in Pugwash, so he actually did want to listen to but I was like, Dad, I'm next door to you, I could just play it for you. But here's the thing: in order for me to change it it wouldn't let me change it from a $5 tier Patreon thing, because then I'd have to upload it again, right. And I don't know where it is anymore.
Yeah, it's only on the Patreon page.
As soon as I take it off that Patreon page, it's gone forever.
Yeah, we don't want to lose it forever.
Well, because the irony is that one was a recovery episode from one that we had lost previously.
Oh, shit, that's right.
Remember when we weren't using Cast back then? We were using
Zen Planner or Zen
Zencaster or something. And Zencaster was free, and it was the worst. So terrible. We were talking on top of each other, but not in real life, just on the podcast. So it was really hard to follow.
It's still a little bit like that. Like if we tried to sing a song together, it would sound to us like when we're doing it live, like it's at the same time. But then when it records, it's back a little bit.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yes. Happy birthday.
Let's do that one again. Yeah.
Okay, ready? On the count of 3. Okay. On a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, fuck off. No way. Happy birthday to you. Are you just doing that on purpose?
No. See? I'm just proving a point.
That's what we're doing
It's a real thing.
That's the leg between Australia and Canada, and the
I don't know. I don't know if they'll hear it because I was trying to match you.
I can hear it. So usually,
it's really frustrating.
This is why the quality is so awesome. But listen, if we're still pitching Patreon, this is like 5 minutes of a fucking commercial.
But for the low price of $5 US, you can also listen to One Foot in the Grave podcast, the early years when it was The Knife's Edge.
That's right. It was you know what? I loved that and Dad was healthier then, so he could like tell us some stories and stuff. It was quite fun.
Yeah.
Healthier than he was healthier the whole way until he died than he is now. Anyway, no, what I was going to say is, I wanted to be able to upload that episode and just sell it for like $1 or something. So you could open it for 99 cents. But yeah, like you said, the only copy we have is on Patreon. So apologies. We don't have any like real super fans anyway. No. So it's not like anybody's
But what
after
I could do, actually, if we get, let's say if we get like 5 $1 Patreons, then I will post I can't post that one, but I've got like a whole backlog. I've got a whole backlog. Well, I don't know why I've turned into a Russian, but I've got a whole backlog of The Knife's Edge, so we can put some of those up.
That's right. Some of them might be a little offensive.
Oh, they will be. I will edit them. I will edit them.
Somebody wrote to me on Twitter and asked me, asked me something about podcasts, and I wrote, if you're not afraid of being offended, then try the One Foot in the Grave podcast. Also, if you don't really care about sound quality too much. And she wrote back and said, the more offensive, the better. And I thought, she probably liked The Knife's Edge. But
people say that, and then they listen to it.
I mean, I went by the pseudonym Cockmaster 4000 for a whole year on that podcast.
To the point where you almost started to think that your name was, because we were very consistent back then. Yeah, because it was a lot more fun. Like, it was really, really fun because we were anonymous. and we didn't have a topic. It was the Seinfeld of podcasts. It was just a podcast about nothing.
Unlike today, when it's so structured.
Yes. Very true.
But anything you give us on Patreon, Dan won't spend it on perfume. We'll put it towards a new soundboard for Dan, so that
I've got a new soundboard. No. I don't need. Okay. I just need a new computer, I think, is the issue.
Okay, computer is the next thing that we're going to do. And then
I don't use this computer for
some
anything.
Acoustic foam of some kind that we could
for your room.
For my room, because it's echoey. That this is like my office.
We'll think about actually a better thing, because I've got good equipment. I think I just don't know why it doesn't work very well. And I think it might be user error.
Could be. Anyway.
I mean, I record in the Dread Room, so there's very little acoustic bounce for me, and I have like a Procaster microphone with an XLR cord and a decent Behringer soundboard.
Yeah, and I'm really just a USB mic.
Yeah,
direct to computer. But I just find the echo is the thing that's noticeable. And sometimes our voices
the echo in
volumes.
your room?
In my room, yeah. These are issues that most podcasts would sort out off the air, but this is our only time to catch up. So
yeah.
Anyway, so you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you can construct. Why don't you just make a little cardboard hut that you line with foam and you just sit under like a fort?
I'm one step away from being that juvenile in my in my professional sound quality stuff. I was telling you about my barbecue.
Go in there. You can see Daddy's in his fort.
Yeah, Jack, I'm in my fort. For fuck's sake, go to bed. Yeah. Daddy's playing in his fort with Uncle Dan. I was telling you about the barbecue anyway. So we had this party, and like they cooked a bunch of burgers on it. You know how the fat kind of goes down in the barbecue. And it wasn't I spent a lot on the barbecue when I first moved here. It was a Weber or whatever. But all that fat caught on fire. And all the smoke started billowing out during the party. And I ran over and poured water on it, exactly like the firemen tell you to do. But it did put it out. And then didn't think of it again. We used it a few more times, no problems. Whoa. I don't even want to know what sinus thing had just happened. And then...
Wait, did you hear it?
Yeah, just the beginning of it. Now, I thought you had your sinuses rotor-rooted. I didn't think you were capable of having sinus issues
Well,
anymore.
I think I've got like low-grade flu.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Like you're fighting it because of the vaccine.
Yeah.
I had a weird thing the other day. My tongue all swelled up. I think from eating too much salt and vinegar popcorn flavor.
Oh, that's so bad. It's so bad for you. Do you remember when we used to eat those tear jerkers and we would eat them until our tongue would bleed?
And then you keep going. Keep going.
What the fuck was wrong with us? And why didn't our parents stop us? They're like, oh my gosh, Dan, look at my tongue. It's so raw, it's bleeding. And you'd stick it out.
Yeah.
Full of blood.
Dripping. Like you'd get all these dots of blood on it. And then, and then it was like your tongue. But then I thought, like just this year, I realized, man, I bet my esophagus and my stomach were doing the same thing. You know? Like, maybe that's part of why I have so many problems. So also this, don't use all this popcorn flavoring shit, but I did. I made the mistake. I used it and I put too much on, and then I didn't want to throw out the bag because I was like, well, I love the saltiness, even though like I could feel my blood pressure rising and my tongue all swelled up.
Acid.
Yeah. And we were supposed to do a podcast, and I literally was talking like this.
Could you imagine? Hello, welcome to the hospital. I'm going to be taking out your clot.
well, I'll give you an example. The ciliomediastinal contours are normal. The lungs are well inflated and clear.
They're like, you know what? The health system is failing us.
Just last time, I was complaining about the criteria for letting people in, and now look, they let me in.
Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau is like, we've really extended the diversity of our medical staff. They're from all
varied backgrounds,
and from all levels of disability.
They have variable numbers of chromosomes. That's the ultimate test.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I made a trisomy joke. Anyway, fucking Justin Trudeau. Actually, you know what? I should send it to you. I wrote a book for Dad when he was done.
Grants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wrote a book for Dad called Grantrepreneurs. That's all about exploiting the system of like identity politics and political correctness in order to get government grants and without ever actually having to do any work. And he loved it. He thought it was really funny. So I should send it to you. And
I know. Well, he was always on to us about like, oh, you should get a grant for that.
Yeah.
Like he was like,
he understood grantrepreneurialism.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to read. Tell me, please.
Fuck the barbecue. Yeah, I'll finish up the barbecue story. So the other day, Chrissy Jack went to camp this week, and so I was like the man of the house. I was home first for the first time, and I was like, I'm going to make...
You're the man of the house, regardless of Jack's presence. But
I don't know what happens when I'm not here, and I don't want to know. I know sometimes it smells like sex happened, but I just assume... Just assume it was some like hardcore masturbation on my wife's part.
Oh my gosh, no. Stop.
Honey, I'm home. Oh, just a second. I've never had that happen. No, anyway, so I was going to make supper. Where was I? Hamburgers.
Oh yes.
Our cousin Brian one time, Dad came home and he looked quite
Oh my god,
sick.
You're still not talking about your barbecue, but continue. Whatever.
Dad came over to their house and he looked really unwell, and Brian said, "John, you look terrible. Do you feel okay?" And Dad said, "Yeah, I feel great. He said, "Oh, you're like a vagina." What? You look terrible, but you feel great.
Oh my gosh.
So the barbecue. I decided I was going to make burgers for Jack and Chrissy. And we had the frozen type, so I warmed up the barbecue, put the burgers on. Then I went in, I was like, I'm going to make these really nice. I'm going to grill the buns. So I buttered all the buns. Like, I had to cut them, butter them. There's sesame seeds fucking everywhere. I swept that up. And as I was getting them ready to go back outside, I just happened to look, and there were flames shooting out of both sides of the barbecue. It was closed. And billowing black smoke. And I went outside, and it just smelled like burning plastic and rubber and a tire fire, basically. And I opened it up, and not only was all the grease on fire, but the internal components of the barbecue had caught on fire and were like melting down. It was like Chernobyl, like the internal parts were becoming like
corium in your barbecue.
In my barbecue. So again, I was like, fuck, I want to take a picture of this for Dan, but I don't have time. And the other thing, I reached under to turn off the propane, and the flames were shooting into the propane area under the barbecue, and I burnt all the hairs off my left arm.
A real worry.
Unbelievable. Anyway, so I didn't take the time to take a picture because I thought of the like newspaper, local physician burns in house fire while trying to take selfie for brother. But I grabbed 2 pint glasses full of water, and I just chucked the glasses on the barbecue because it was, I mean, the fire was huge. Like the siding was getting black and stuff, and it was, it's quite significant. And when I threw the water on it, this fireball went up over the house. It probably went, I would say, 20 to 30 feet in the air, like some kind of like almost like a transformer had exploded. But it did actually extinguish the barbecue enough that I could then, kind of open it and look at what I was doing and put it out. Oh, anyway, so that was my my harrowing tale of the barbecue. Today I finally took it all apart, and the inside was full of fat that just looked like shit. Do you know what I mean? Like it was all black on top and then brown in the middle and soft and gooey.
You just need to get a new
so
one.
Gross.
Because I saw that on Facebook. You were like looking for a recommendation for a good barbecue repair man.
That's not a job. But you can buy new burners. You can buy new burners at Canadian Tire. So what I did,
not a job. It would certainly be seasonal.
What I did, I went in and I routed, because when I started the barbecue again today after cleaning it all out, it just like, again, big fireball. It wasn't working. I routed out all the burners, and now it seems to work. It actually seems to be working. So we'll just see what happens.
We specialize in your barbecue repairing and trampoline cleaning needs. What's the most seasonal East Coast Canadian job ever?
Hi, I'm looking for a barbecue repair person. This guy's a fucking doctor. But I don't have a lot of chromosomes. Or no, I have one too many.
One too many. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let's get into the meat of it now that we've spent half an hour talking complete bullshit.
Hey, we were talking about meat. Now we're getting into the meat of it.
Jeez.
When those burgers, the burgers at the end were all covered with like black soot and water. And the weirdest looking flies, those, they look like house flies, but they're really shiny green color. They just swarmed. I've never seen so many. They're shit flies. Basically, I created shit without eating anything. Yep.
Your barbecue digested things for you.
Yeah.
You made a metal Venus flytrap.
In fact, there's probably some kind of Crohn's research that could come out of what happened with that, whatever the chemical ingredients were that I created in that conflagration.
No, if you add
barbecue corium for artificial bowel for people.
If you add some of that salt and vinegar flavoring into that shit that you created, you've essentially made a living human robot. It can digest food and make fire.
Exactly.
So I'm going to read Lisa's letter.
Okay. Was it depressing the whole way through? I can't remember. We'll find out.
But You know what? We're experiencing this in real time together because I've read the first page.
6, my sister died, and I had to go live with foster parents. No, if it's that sad, we're just gonna stop. Full stop.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when I was reading like scary children's tales, and then it got really like
yes,
molesty? I was like, wait a second.
Molesty.
Wait a second. I don't want to read this anymore. Does this podcast have take backsies? Because I am definitely not going to edit this.
He was wondering if I would touch him down there. What the fuck did I just read?
I know. It was pretty much on par with what you just said.
We should, at some point, cover what's that cult called with the girl from Smallville in it? Nivixum or Nixivum or something like that.
What?
I've been seeing so much shit about this cult in the last couple of days. It's
Scientology?
No. These guys branded women. They had they had sex slaves, like childhood sex slaves. I think Jeffrey Epstein might have been that all related.
Golly.
Anyway, I don't want to do child sex stuff, so actually fuck whatever I just said, forget it.
Yeah, take backsies.
Yeah, take backsies. And I'd say Google it, but definitely don't. If you do decide to Google it, share a podcast with the prison population.
Yeah, that's right. It's just called Talking It Within Your Cell, but louder. Use your stage voice while in your cell. I'm reading / listening to Stay Sexy, Don't Get Murdered on Audible.
The book, yeah.
It's pretty decent. It's more of a self-help, empower yourself.
I knew it would be. I'm not into that stuff.
Yeah, but I like it nonetheless. Anyway, let's talk about Lisa.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Now, again, I don't know what Lisa's voice is like.
Hi, guys.
So, this is Lisa's letter voiced by me, Dan.
Perfect.
Hi, guys.
That'd be crazy.
Hi, guys. It's me, Lisa. I must clear something up first and foremost. I was born and raised in Nebraska, but my husband, she didn't make the funny sound. See, this is going to be confusing for all, but we'll get through this. Yeah. But my husband and I live in Oregon. Now, I don't think she's talking about Portland, Oregon. I think there's an actual place on the West Coast called Oregon. Is that right?
That's Portland, Oregon.
Oh, it's beautiful. One of my favorite ASM artists.
You're thinking of Portland, Maine.
Yes.
And Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. Portland, Oregon. I don't know if she's talking about Portland, Maine or Portland, Oregon.
She lives in Portland or she lives in Oregon?
Oregon.
Yeah, that's a state. On the West Coast.
Right. Okay. Because Oregon,
Portland's
Maine
the city. Portland's the
Portland.
City.
Oh, right.
Dan lives in Australia. He could name all the provinces of Australia. Territories.
No, I can't.
New South Wales.
One of my favorite ASM artists, Goodnight Moon, you should check it out, went to visit Portland, Oregon, and it is stunning. It looks a lot like Vancouver.
You know what? Right now there's a protest going on. Antifa. Do you know who they are? They're a bunch of
the sandal brand.
Well, no, it stands for anti-fascist, but their form of anti-fascism is not letting anybody else speak and smashing their head in if they disagree with them. So I told them they could save a lot of money on printer toner just by changing it to fa. But anyways,
fascism.
Yeah, go fa. They're protesting right now, and if you tune in, I mean, I'm not. This ain't political. We're not well politically informed.
I think Teva's a brand of sandal.
Yeah, it is. So. It is. But anyway, that's what I think of when I think of Portland, Oregon, because they keep having these Antifa protests, and people keep getting hurt, and it just looks like all hell is breaking loose all the time. And it's supposed to be like, hippie city, right? Portlandia is about Portland, Oregon.
Ah.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Anyway, so she lives in Oregon. That's the first
we've made
sentence.
it into one sentence.
Oh,
I gotta shut my fucking mouth. You read this thing. I'm interested. Sorry, Lisa.
I will always be a Nebraska girl and love the Nebraska Huskers, but I love the Northwest.
A lot of corn in Nebraska.
The climate is so much better. We don't mind the rain. It's better than snow and ice all winter with below zero temperatures. Anyway. Anywho. She didn't say anywho. No. My story starts when we moved to the Northwest. I was nearing the end of a very nasty... This is what I thought it was a little bit depressing. I was nearing the end of a very nasty custody battle with my ex-boyfriend and his mother. They drug it out for years. Anyway, I had signed a temporary guardianship paper while my husband was in the hospital with a malignant brain tumor. He was paralyzed on the opposite side of the tumor. He had surgery and radiation and every rehabilitation you can think of. I let my boy go and stay with his dad and his dad's mom. I signed something that said no. I had no clue gave them so much power until I tried to bring him back home. Anyway, the grandmother, name not read, had said my boy could move with us to the Northwest and could move with us to the Northwest, and if he didn't like it, he could go back to Iowa, which is just over the border of Nebraska. I had my boy when I was 17. His dad was very abusive, both physically and emotionally. He was a cheat too, but he was good. He was a good dad. He always put son's name first. So even though I was always in danger, my son never was. I kept him from seeing his father. I never kept him from seeing his father. Oh, sorry. I read it the way that I wanted it to be.
It wanted to go. Yeah. Sorry, Lisa. You've had your trials. We apologize.
Anyway, we went ahead and sold our home and packed up. My son was with us in our home, and we were going to head to Washington State all together as a family. But his mother-in-law backed out. This is hard for me because I'm seeing names and I'm connecting them to them. I mean, I could have just written on the paper, but no. She said she couldn't let him go. The house was sold and I had a job waiting for me in Washington, and we had both quit our jobs in Iowa. We had no home and everything was packed in a Ryder moving truck. I was devastated, to say the least. I mean, heart-sinking depression hit me. I didn't know how I was going to leave without him, but also had my mother-in-law knew each other and went to school together, and it was all in vain. I don't know what's happening. He had ruled he could see no reason to move him as he was thriving and being well taken care of, and also that I was married to a Native American and he was afraid we would move into a reservation and he would be picked on. We never had lived on a reservation, nor did we want to at the time or in the future. So anyway, I had to pay child support, carry medical insurance on him that she never used because she had state medical for him, Medicaid. It was just another ploy to cost us money. She sued us for a wreck we were in because changing the page, talking amongst yourselves, son wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Back then, it wasn't the law, and we were all piled up in a pickup hauling an entertainment center. Thank goodness that suit was thrown out a year later. My husband had a co-signer, so she went after him too. Yes, my in-laws. Anyway, I was at the bottom of the bottom. I was afraid of what I might be capable of where my mother-in-law was concerned.
Oh man.
I had to get out of Iowa and away from her. I had a little girl and a husband starting new. I had just graduated with honors from surgery technology program, and I was going out to the Northwest to make a new start, but I was so torn and heartsick. That week, I went to a local pub to have a beer with my uncle and my dad and just spend some time with the family before I couldn't anymore. I was drinking a beer. I know, I looked like someone had ripped my heart out and stomped on it. My eyes were puffy from crying. I had no makeup on. I looked devastated. I was looking around at everybody having a good time. There was a band playing. People were dancing. There was laughter and chatter all around. I was quiet. I was just in my own bubble. I remember it like yesterday. My son is in his 30s now. The next thing I knew, this old man sitting across the bar was staring at me. I thought, great, just what I need tonight, some loser hitting on me. I looked at my dad.
Scrotum.
Oh, stop. I pictured it. Just raisin-like.
Just
hanging
exactly
in my face.
What I wanted to think. I'm going to interrupt this darkness for 1 second because I got a really funny short story. We had a patient with a penile prosthesis. Penile prosthesis the other day. Yeah, you have to pump them up or whatever. I don't know. They used to.
Yeah.
Erectile dysfunction. Anyway,
did you catheterize it by mistake?
No, we had to catheterize it, but I don't do that stuff. The nurses do. So we have one nurse who's very prudish about sex stuff. Very one of my favorite people, but she's super conservative, and she kind of grabbed the guy's penis, put the catheter in, and kind of jumped back and said, "Oh, it's stiff." Because of the prosthesis. And then she's like, "I'm sorry, that wasn't what I..." It's stiff. Anyway, sorry, Lisa. I just, we don't like too much darkness.
No. Well, I think life is pretty dark. I haven't read this.
This is where it's all
I haven't proofed this. Yeah,
I think I've gotten this far. I got to the end at one point.
Your chair is just the worst.
Maybe that would be something we could put some Patreon money towards.
Yeah.
Here, do you like wobbly armrests?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how much more I can take. I don't know what I'll do because of that armrest. Is that the armrest?
That's the armrest.
You just need to tighten the bolt. I thought it was the casters on your wood floor.
It's been the armrest all along.
Get a screw. Get a fucking screwdriver and tighten the fucking bolt. Oh my lord.
Sorry, this is a pretty serious story, Lisa. I'm sorry. I give it 3 squeaks.
I'm just
old man
pulsating with excitement.
Old man.
I looked at my dad like, here we go. My dad had no expression on his face at all. I looked back at the old man. He was tattered and worn. He looked homeless. He was not somebody I had ever seen in there before or since that night. He motioned me over to where he was sitting. I looked at my dad and he nodded at me. My dad is gifted. I got my gifts from my dad. I shook my head no, but curiosity got the best of me. I mean, after all, he was a weirdo. My dad and uncle, the Vietnam vet, was right there to rescue me. I walked around the bar. As I was walking around the bar towards this man, everyone else was getting quieter and quieter. Everyone was still doing what they were doing, but it was like a tunnel vision on this man. When I reached the man, I didn't see anything but him. I didn't hear the band or the people filling the pub. I only heard and saw him at this point. I thought, how strange is this? I had only had 1 or 2 beers, so I wasn't even buzzed yet. Unlike me, I'd be on the floor. I thought, okay, Mr. Twilight Zone, what's up here? He said, I came here to see you. I said, what? I don't even know you. He said, I know you. I was getting spooked. He said, don't be afraid. I came here to help you. I have never been here before, and I will never be here again. I came just for you. He said, when we finished here, I will leave and you will never see me again. I said, okay. I looked across the bar to see my dad, and he nodded. The old man said, I want to put my hand on your chest. Uh-oh. And my lips on your forehead.
This is where it all goes wrong.
Just for a few seconds. Oh, Lord. Okay. I'm getting some foreboding here. I'm getting a few red flags. But I'll just continue reading. If this gets weird,
No, this is going to sound crazy, but I have to put 1 finger in your vagina and 1 finger in your rectum. Just for a second.
That's a shocker.
It was shocking. Sorry. That was totally inappropriate. This is actually a very touching story. We're ruining it. I'm sorry, Lisa. We ruin everything.
Anyway, the next line is, I was reluctant. I thought... I knew he was trying to cop a feel or something, but since my dad was watching, I said, okay. The old man put 1 hand below my throat on my chest. He put his lips on my forehead. Tears starting pouring from my eyes. I was silent, but weeping uncontrollably. I felt this stress and depression and all the negativity I had been carrying leave me. He told me everything will be okay. Then he handed me a folded napkin. He said, you can open this after I've gone. You know, I wish I'd still had that napkin today just because It was such a surreal experience. He got up and walked out after looking back at me and smiling. I walked over to my dad and sat down on the stool. I could hear the band. My dad was smiling at me. He hugged me and I opened the napkin. The napkin said, "Never let them take your smile." I smiled and cried a little, but not a sad cry. A cry of relief of some sort. Probably because she didn't get felt up.
Yeah.
My heart didn't feel... Sorry, that's not what it said.
No.
My heart didn't feel so heavy anymore. I felt hope again. It was so crazy. It still is so crazy as I'm typing this now. I never saw that man again. My dad and uncle never did either. I don't know who the old man was, but I can tell you that I don't look at worn or homeless people the way I used to. I always wonder if they are angels in disguise waiting to be called on to help someone in some way. I stapled it. Maybe they aren't supposed to have that 9-to-5 job, or they choose to live free and an establishment free because they have another purpose. I'm really reading this poorly. I'm sorry. I don't know.
It's not bad.
I'm not here to judge anyone. I feel like that old man took something very dark from me so I could go on with what I needed to do in the future. I really don't know what to make of it all, but it helped me tremendously. So there you have another story. I have many gifts. I don't share unless someone is in need. I'm 51 now, so I really don't care what people think about me anymore. That's how I feel now. You don't look
51, you look like 30 or younger.
Stop it, Jake. Why don't you go ask her to put your hand on her chest and kiss her?
I would, but Nebraska's a long way.
I guess with wisdom Oregon comes some I don't give a crap. I'm
Obviously,
glad that you
she
say
doesn't
that.
give a crap. She's wearing our shirt.
I hope you enjoy my story, and I may send another. I'm not sure when. I fell a couple of days ago, and I've been taking Tylenol and muscle relaxers, so I've been sleeping my holiday weekend away. This was clearly a long time ago. My stupid cat ran out when I opened the front door, and I don't know what would have happened if I ended up on my back on hard clay floor in the entryway.
That's crazy. That's very much like the story I'm going to read you today.
I just had the damn shingles vaccine a few minutes before I fell, so I'm limping.
What are the odds? Vaccines die
around bruised up. Yes. So
she is a psychic.
Yeah. So it not only does it cause you to run around with no pants, it also causes you to fall on hard clay floors. At least I know I can get back up, and I'm not that old yet. I'll keep in touch. You guys are hilarious. Lies. I laugh all the time at work. People that don't listen should, because they are really missing out. I mean, that's true. We've got some real pearls.
We're fucking geniuses. Like Louis C.K. and Bill Cosby.
Yeah. Oh my God. So that's Lisa's story. So that's kind of nice.
Lisa, that was an awesome story.
Time slips and stuff, and that was a totally weird situation.
And listen, keep smiling. You're doing it all right. You're good. Good people.
Don't give a shit about anyone. That's what I say.
Right. Well, no, I mean your family. Fuck. Don't be an asshole. Just you're doing it right. You're doing good. You know what's really cool though? That story. When I was in San Francisco one time, I was there to do a course before my exam.
I was in a pub listening to a band, and Dad just put his hand on this woman's chest and kissed her on the forehead and handed her a napkin. How weird is that?
With his phone number on it. This lady came over. I was like super stressed about the exam, and she came over. Chrissy and I were at a pub drinking, and she came over and said, I'm supposed to tell you that you're going to do fine on the test, and you have a very kind face, and I think you're a very kind person. I was like, what the fuck? San Francisco. But it actually did make me feel better. And then when Dad got diagnosed, I was walking around in the hospital, and one of the guys who used to clean, I actually don't know his name, he said, it's all going to be okay. It's all going the way it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to tell you that. And I was like, I started crying. I was like, man, that was fucking crazy.
Thanks, man.
And he said, you're a nice person. You're a nice guy. Because I always feel like...
God, he doesn't know you at all.
I'm
no
not.
wonder he didn't know his name.
I'm not a nice guy. But, I didn't... He didn't... We've never spoken before or since. Anyway, that was... So there you go.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to cut out your name bit.
Okay. Well, then fuck it. We'll just
a guy said it's going to be okay. There we go.
Yeah, guy said it would be fine. Okay, listen.
I got 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes.
I can do this because I took notes on paper.
Okay, go like the Micro Machines man.
Yeah. This is the story of Everyday Chemistry, the Beatles album that was never recorded. Okay?
Yeah.
So I took this from the website. I posted
this on Facebook.
Oh, shit. Well, anyway. just read it there, then.
Thanks for listening, guys. You can find us on...
No, I want to tell this one because I love this one. Because we talked about time slips. I said some of my favorite stories are the really weird time slip ones. So here's a weird one. So recounted by a guy who calls himself James Richards, and he put out a website called The Beatles Never Broke Up, where you can actually hear all the album, and it's fucking awesome, I will say. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, he's done... it's really good.
Yeah, it is. So on September 9th, 2009, James...
Earl
this
Jones.
all went down. James, the guy who calls himself James Richards, lives in Livermore, California. He was driving home from Turlock, California, after visiting a friend there, and he took a road through the Del Puerto Canyon because he liked the scenery, and it was he had time to burn, so it was a scenic drive he wanted to do. But he had his dog with him, and the dog had to take a shit at one point, so he pulled off to let the dog out of the car. And the dog went chasing after a rabbit. You know, they have those jackrabbits in the desert. And and so James, listen, this is his version of the story. It could all be complete bullshit, but I love the story anyway.
Yeah, it's
James
a good
started chasing the dog, and he stepped in a hole, like a rabbit warren hole or whatever, and fell and whacked himself on the head. So he was unconscious, and then he says he woke up in a room with furniture and unusual electronics in it. He could hear traffic outside the window, and he had a bandage on his head. The room looked like a person's house, like it wasn't. He knew he wasn't in a hospital, but there was a large electronic device inside that looked out of place. He went to go look out the window, but a door opened, and his dog ran in. There was a man in the doorway who gave James a very greasy vibe, he says. The man introduced himself as Jonas and said he had found James in a field with his dog barking its head off. James asked where he was, and the man said, about 20 feet from where I found you. He said he had taken James back through a portal to a parallel Earth, that he usually wouldn't allow anyone to come through a portal, but that when he found him unconscious in the blazing heat, he realized if he didn't help him, he could be
It was
in
a
trouble.
do or die.
Yeah, do or die. So he broke the rules and took this guy back through the portal. He said,
Jonas.
Yeah. He said in his Earth's dimensions, because now we're talking about parallel universes, the government had his Earth's dimension, I should say, parallel dimensions. The government had chosen to fund a parallel universe travel research program called ARPD instead of NASA, and that parallel universe travel, though dangerous, was quite common. He said the main danger of traveling is that in the infinite multiverse, some Earths have water or a long drop where the portal is placed, so the government was making a list of safe dimensions that you could travel to. And he said dimensional travel agencies existed that allow people to travel to Earths that don't know about dimensional travel so that they can start a new life from his Earth. Jonas was an agent for one of those agencies and was researching our Earth, according to this story. So they talked about the similarities between the worlds, food, culture, technology, television, and eventually started talking about music. They talked about the Beatles, and Jonas mentioned that his brother had just returned from seeing the Beatles in concert. This is 2009, right? They discussed how in our world, John and George were dead, and the Beatles had broken up in 1970. In his world, though, they were alive and still touring. Fucking Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
You know, and John was kind of a dickhole, actually, but...
well, I know. They were all
amazing musician. Yeah. I saw Paul McCartney a few times.
This movie yesterday was really good, though. It got me back into the Beatles music because I hadn't listened to it for so long. I forgot that they had done so many of the songs that I love.
Dude, did you listen to this album, Everyday Chemistry? Well, we'll get to it. Anyway.
I listened to a few of them. Actually, I YouTubed it, and there are people covering it as well in pubs and stuff, which is
it's outstanding. Cool. Anyway, so they talked about all this stuff with the Beatles and how in this world the Beatles were still alive and touring. Jonas took him to the next room that was full of cassette tapes. They didn't have CDs in this world or like iPods or whatever. And the sound system speakers looked like, he said, crinkled cardboard, like a tall accordion, the way they stood up. And he had he passed him Sgt. Pepper's album, but Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, but the album cover looked different, but all the songs were the same. Everything else he had was like taped cassettes, so it wasn't like the original copies. But there were 4 albums that James had never heard of. Jonas said a girl had made the tapes for him in upper school, which was like the high school of that dimension. James asked for a copy of the tape, and Jonas gave him a look that he says scared the hell out of him. He said, "You can't take anything at all back to your world." He said it would jeopardize James's safety. After a while, the doorbell rang and Jonas went to get it. James grabbed a tape and then reshuffled them to make it look like nothing was missing. James then said he was hungry to make sure that Jonas didn't notice that he'd stolen a tape. And Jonas took him to the kitchen where they ate. And according to James, ketchup in that dimension was purple. I don't know why they just whip up that needed ketchup, but that's the craziest part of the story, really. The dog. It was getting late. Yeah, hot dog. It was getting late, and apparently the time of day is the same throughout the multiverse. So they went back to the room with the big machine. Jonas used the machine to open a portal, and James picked up his dog and walked back through. He says it felt like getting wet while staying dry, and the dog shook like she thought she was wet as well. The ground was kind of scorched where he came back through. His car was still there, and he says the worst part of the whole thing was that his car didn't have a cassette player, so he'd have to wait to listen to the album. And he says he only took the album just because he couldn't believe he wasn't a huge Beatles fan, but he wanted proof that this happened. But he still won't put out his name because it obviously is a crazy story. And when you listen to the album, what's incredible about it is it's definitely their voices, and I believe it is their instruments. And I think it's a mashup of solo albums that all of them sort of did subsequently. Yeah. But apparently this guy explains that by saying, well, listen, maybe the ideas were in their heads for those songs. So there's like stuff from Wings mixed with the John Lennon band, and it's quite cool. But
who is in Wings?
Paul McCartney. So that was his Band on the Run.
Yeah.
And now we lost our content for this podcast. No. So he thinks that they would have written those songs eventually anyway, and so that's why those parts of those songs are in it. But really, he probably just took all those songs and took clips from them and then mashed them into new songs. But the songs are excellent. I've been listening to it. It's very catchy. It's really good.
Yeah. It's not it's not bad.
You would think it was a Beatles album. If I listened to it, I would say, holy shit, a Beatles album that I've never heard before. Because I was a pretty big Beatles fan. I still listen to them quite a bit. So there you go.
Good job. And spot on time, Jake. Well done. Well done, Jake.
Well done, Harry. I'm sorry, Professor.
Well, thank you for listening to One Foot in the Grave podcast. You can find all the links to social media and to anywhere that you want to listen. You can find that on our website, One Foot in the Grave podcast.
I should interrupt.
.com.
One Foot in the Grave podcast.weebly.com. We're on the Stitcher app, and I think we're now past a year, so iTunes is probably erasing our first. They may be erasing our first couple episodes. So if you're new and you want to go back and listen to the old ones, because we only really put out about one a month.
I don't think they do that.
One every 2 weeks.
I don't think they do that.
They do with True Crime Garage, but maybe it's because they have so many episodes.
Perhaps.
I don't know. Anyway, we're on the Stitcher app too.
And on Spotify.
Yeah, that's true.
And on iHeartRadio.
I don't know how to use any of those things.
FM.com.
Yeah. Well, give us a 5-star rating on the iTunes store.
On the
we
iTunes
don't deserve
one.
it. We don't deserve it.
Well, I mean, it's the best practical joke you could play, I reckon.
I agree. We've talked about this in the past, but just put it up there. Just put it up there. We will read your stories on.
Just put it up there.
Just put it up there. Put up the 5-star review. You can put it up and say this is the shittiest podcast of all time, but put out the 5
stars. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll read your name and everything on if you give us a 5-star review. I will read the Australian ones. Jake will read the Canadian ones. Anyone else is just fucked.
I also apologize that you're going to have to delete some of my name out of the podcast.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Maybe you're going to lose your job.
You can go either way. Unfortunately for you, it's also your last name.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, onefootinthegrave.weebly.com.
We'll try to do one. Are you around the next couple of weeks? I'm on call next weekend.
Yeah, and then I think I'm going to come home for a little bit.
Fucking awesome. We could do a live one.
Yeah, and go motorcycle driving.
Oh, yes. I have to charge up the battery. That'll be fun.
All right, thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
Bye.